Have you ever had something that you simultaneously think is the best and worst thing that ever happened to a series? For me, that's the Divine Knights and Trails of Cold Steel. Now, I can't say that they were abrupt in the series. There had been big, cool robots before with Patter Matter and the Ions, but they were part of the society. They were always this big enemy looming threat that you couldn't get. They were an opposition to you. They were not something that was ever going to work for you. So then Cold Steel comes along and we decide, hey, let's give our protagonist a big, cool mech. Now, part of this is the fault of the Soldats. They add in these cool mechs in the Cold Steel army at the end of Cold Steel 1 to be an opposition force. And I think the Soldats get added way too soon. If you'd added them in 3 and 4, I think they would have been fine. I think they don't work in Cold Steel 1 and 2. They're added because we want to do real cool robot fights to get new people into the series. And I think they just kind of don't really work well. The Divine Knights are weird in Cold Steel 1 and 2. I think if just these two had shown up in Cold Steel 1 and 2, that would have been fine. If they'd been fighting tanks and the current weaponry and all that, I think it would have worked alright. But they just come too soon, and they do too much. But while I don't think they narratively work in Cold Steel 1 and 2, I do think they work narratively late. The thing about the Divine Knights that's really interesting is it pulls into the cosmology of Trails, which I've talked about before. It's one of my favorite things about it. They slow roll out this demon, magic, church energy stuff, and how it's affected the past, and it's going to affect the future. And so tying the Divine Knights to these energies, to these concepts, and the ley lines that exist is really cool. And I think in that sense they do a really good job of it, especially adding in that if you contract with these, you might turn immortal. And some people have been around since the last time they showed up, like 500 years ago. Adding in, they kind of erase the memories of people when they're gone. They're really, really interesting things, and I think they tie really well into the Great Collapse, where all the information was lost in the past. And in Cold Steel 3 and 4, when they're dealing with this stuff, I think they're so cool. But in Cold Steel 1 and 2, they're so stupid. Add in, we are gonna Mega Man this shit. You beat one, you get their power. I also think Valimar just really grows well as a character in 3 and 4. I didn't really super care for him in 1 and 2. I don't know if any of this makes sense. I don't know if anybody cares about this shit. But yeah, they're simultaneously the worst and best thing that happened to Cold Steel for me. Do you have any other weird stuff in Trails you want me to talk about? Do you have any favorites of these that you want me to talk in detail about? Let me know in the comments and follow for more.